Correct.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the August 27th meeting of the Public Works Committee. I would like everyone to go around the room and introduce themselves with members, starting with John, please.
I'm John Premier from the 17th District in Cohoes.
I'm Pete Tunney from the 22nd District in Colony, bordering Niskiana.
Frank Moriello, 27th District in Colony.
Charlie Cow, 30th District, Gilderland.
Paul Miller, 32nd District, Gilderland.
Joe O'Brien, the 25th District, West Albany, Loudonville.
And I'm Paul Bergdorf, Latham, Loudonville, and a little piece of the village of Colony. So with that, I'd like to see if folks have taken a look at the previous meeting minutes and whether there are any suggestions, changes, and if not, I would entertain a motion. Motion to approve the minutes by Mr. Tunney, seconded by Mr. Miller. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to throw you a bit of a curve. I promised Bob Elber that we would take 4 and 8 out of order so that he could make a rapid entry and exit.
Thank you very much.
So let's start with number 4. Mr. Belber?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, number 4 is a suite lease, which is the one and only renewal, or one and only suite that did not renew, which is suite number 19. It formerly was occupied by Portatech. There's a waiting list for suites that we have at the building. Niscovo is the first one that's on that list. We went to them and asked if they would be willing to come in and take the 3-year lease on the same terms and conditions as the rest of the suite holders. They agreed to do so. They gave us a letter of intent and deposit, and we'd like to have Niscovo come in and take over that suite 19 for the next 3 years, starting September 1.
Okay, so this is going to go in at the $51,000 rate,
Correct.
The new rate.
Yep, $51,000 per year, 3 years.
Okay. Any questions from the members of the committee? If not, we'll entertain a motion. Moved by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Moriello. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. The income statements is number 8.
So this is the July ending income statement, and through July, year-to-date through July, we're currently sitting at a net income of $1,731,256 compared to the budget of $773,733. So we're real close to $1 million ahead of budget, and so we're real happy about that. I still believe we're going to see some growth on that number as well between now and the end of the year. We've got some good events coming in, and I think this is going to be one of our best years. I don't want to venture to say that it will be the best year, but it'll be close.
Bob, how does that $1 million compare to where we were this time last year?
Actually, on the far right-hand side, that's the last year number too.
Okay.
So that's $716,000 last year. We budgeted to be higher than last year, and obviously we're quite a bit higher overall. But that really has a lot to do with what happened in the spring. There were just some great concerts that were touring in the spring, and a lot of times with this industry, it really depends on what is going out on tour. And we were fortunate enough to get a lot of the big shows that really, for the most part, they were playing primary cities. And we were lucky enough to be able to get them into what's Albany considered a secondary market. But a lot of that is a little bit of luck and a lot of it of relationships. So
If you have a budget, do you budget a certain amount of concerts, or
we do
pick a number?
Yeah, we do. We budget a certain number of concerts, and it depends a lot on prior year, or even we go back on the prior 5 years to see what kind of trends there were. But anywhere from 16 to 18 concerts is what we'll generally budget. And again, if it's a bad economy, like it was in 2008, that's going to impact how many concerts, how many tours are on the road. So we may have to budget down a little bit on the number because of knowing that we're in a bad situation. But right now, the economy's good. It looks like 2020 is going to be a good year with a lot of tours. So I think next year is going to be a good year as well.
So are you in the process of putting your budget together for 2020?
Yeah, we've already actually given that to Sean, and it's a good number, and I think we can achieve it.
Okay, questions, anyone? Any questions, anyone from the audience? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Godspeed.
Thank you.
Get your daughter back to college.
Thank you.
All right, let's go back to the regular order of the agenda. Lucas, I'm sorry. Thank you. Welcome again.
Good to see you again.
Number one, authorizing the submission of a grant application with NYSERDA regarding clean transportation initiatives.
Sure, thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. This is a pretty straightforward request. Just for a little bit of background, in 2018, using a Clean Energy Communities grant from NYSERDA, which was a $250,000 grant, we purchased 4 electric vehicles and a number of charging stations. NYSERDA has made $30,000 additional available to the county as part of that grant program as a result of a settlement between New York State and Lafarge. And so we've been very happy with the electric vehicles. They've been integrated well into the fleet, and we would like to use that $30,000 to purchase an additional electric vehicle. So this item is simply a request to apply.
So you're going to get the 30,000 is allocated for the county, kind of?
Yeah, more or less. Each municipality within 4 surrounding counties as well as the municipalities within the county are eligible to apply, and there are enough to go around that it's more or less allocated to the county.
So is that about the cost of an electric vehicle is $30,000?
Right about with with incentives, right about.
Okay. Questions from the committee? Mr. O'Brien?
And what kind of vehicle are you going to be purchasing? Or
The first 4 we purchased were Chevy Bolts. I will say that we've been very happy with them in terms of performance, in terms of mileage. So we would certainly look at those again. We could look at some others as well on the market, but they're kind of, I don't want to say the industry standard, but they're a good product. So I don't see any reason why we would differentiate from that.
Where have they been assigned into the fleet? What part of them?
Primarily in the DGS messenger fleet, which is frequently out and about moving the business of the county.
Gotcha.
Just a quick question. One of the things that I've noticed, especially with vehicles that you buy, is 3 years later the technology has changed as such. If you get a new car, you end up with features and different types of benefits that you never imagined that you would have. Is it possible to use the funding to do 3- and 4-year leases or something like that, so you don't run a car for 10 years, 12 years, or doesn't it make sense?
I think for grant funding, they would look for a purchase. I think, you've seen some municipalities look at leasing options, but that's more when it's their money on the table as opposed to a grant where they're probably going to want it to be a capital expenditure. But
Okay, I'm just curious. All right, any further questions? If not, would entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Fournier. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Carried. Thank you very much. All right, number 2, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the National Recreation and Park Association regarding the 10-minute walk grant.
Yes.
Good evening.
Chairman. Good evening, gentlemen. This is request to enter into, to put an application forward retroactively for a 10-minute walk grant. We found out about the grant with about a week notice, and we applied for it 2 weeks ago. The grant is to connect populations that don't really have access to a park to be 10 minutes within a park. So what we're looking to do is leverage the Albany County Rail Trail to connect some individuals in Ezra Prentice homes in the south end to a underutilized park in Albany along the Hudson.
So this is a single area you would be using this grant for?
Right, it's $40,000. We found that this was the best area to focus on with that small amount for a planning grant.
Okay, and this is for a planning grant. Is it also a situation where the money is sort of pre-allocated for you to apply, or is this a competitive grant that you hope to secure?
So we're going up against a couple other municipalities. It is competitive. It's a private grant. We're hoping someday maybe we can leverage this planning grant to go after some REDC money in the future and actually build infrastructure to connect.
Members of the committee?
So this is a grant to provide access for residents in these neighborhoods to the rail trail, and so they can use the rail trail. How would you get them there?
So it's actually using the rail trail, which passes through their neighborhood. Albany, the city of Albany is going to be having a connector between the rail trail and the Corning Preserve, and that connector will actually pass through Ezra Prentice homes, it'll pass through the South End area, and it'll allow us to use the connector to actually connect to a park. Because right now, the rail trail going through that area is pretty much just a mode of transportation. It only gets you from point A to point B. This would add an amenity along the way.
Will this then make it a contiguous link between the rail trail all the way up?
So the City of Albany's connector, which will be, I think next year it'll begin construction, that will be a continuous link. So you can hop on the trail in Voorheesville and you can go all the way down to Waterville with that Albany connector. This will be a connector from that connector to the park that I mentioned that's along the Hudson.
Go ahead.
How much is that park utilized now? Is it a state park, a city park?
It's a city park. There is some utilization. It's near the truck stop, if you're familiar with it down there. From the little that I've looked into it, it's not very utilized. So hopefully this would get some community members over to that area and get it to be flourishing again.
Are there any amenities over there?
So there's a playground. It's right on the water. You can go fishing down there if you want. It's actually probably one of the only parks in the city that's actually on the water. It's a great little park, it's just underutilized.
It's got the decking.
It has a nice deck that goes over the Hudson. But it is run down. It would need a little bit of attention.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, who would be required to give it attention, us or the city of Albany?
So that would be the city of Albany. This probably would evolve into a partnership with the two of us. You know, we would look to fund that connector itself, but the city would have to maintain the park.
Okay, so that would be part of the agreement.
Correct. But that's, you know, down the road.
Okay. Questions, comments? If not, I would entertain a motion. Made by Mr. Cal, seconded by Mr. Moriello. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And congratulations. All right, now, number 3, authorizing an agreement with the town of Bethlehem regarding a paved connection between Grove Street and Delmar to the rail trail.
Correct, so another connector. This has been previously approved by the county legislature, just in a different location. The last time it was out in Slingerland between Bridge Street and the rail trail. This time it would be Grove Street, thank you, and the rail trail, which is closer to the Delmar area. It's an area that has a pretty worn footpath right now. If we entered into a partnership with Bethlehem, it would be all
in-house labor that would be able to complete this job, and it would make the connection ADA accessible.
Mr. O'Brien?
Who would maintain that connector?
So we would, it would most likely be the county that would maintain the connector. It'd probably be no more than 10 feet long. It wouldn't be outside of our reach to maintain it.
This be a paved connector?
Most likely. The area was previously identified as wetland, at least part of it. So there might be a bridge that we have to look at, just a small decking bridge. If we do it further down, it would just be paved where it was not designated a wetland. We still have to go out and do the engineering study. This would just be to allow us to get a license agreement in place so that we could work with the town of Bethlehem.
So then you have to come back before the legislature to get the funding?
There would be no funding required. It's all in-house labor.
Oh, it is? Okay.
The one that we did last year, no funding. It was just the town of Bethlehem providing their paver and some labor, us and our engineering, and it just kind of came together without having to pay.
How about the blacktop?
So in the past, that was also the town of Bethlehem. They provided the materials and the paver.
And so there's no formal engineering analysis, you don't have to hire with wetlands, you don't...
No, we could just
That's
do it with our
in-house.
staff in-house. Correct.
Mr. O'Brien?
Who owns the property now? County or the town?
So right now, it's a, county owns the rail trail, and the town of Bethlehem owns Grove Street, which is the frontage, which runs along the trail.
But the actual area we're paving, who would own that?
It would cross both. So we would do some work on our side, the town would do some work on theirs.
Wouldn't it make sense for the town to take care of that rather than the county, since it's in their town?
Well, the county already takes care of the rail trail. We have specialized equipment such as mowers specifically for the trail. We already patrol the trail as it is. The connection would be an extension of the trail, less than it would be an extension of the street.
Okay.
Any further comments, questions, concerns? If not, I would entertain a motion. Made by Mr. Moriello. Second by Mr. Cal. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Matter is carried.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Very much.
Thanks.
All right, Commissioner Latina. Good evening. Authorizing an agreement with Upstate Companies LLC regarding renovation work at 260 South Pearl Street.
Correct. We're looking to go in contract with Upstate for the amount of not to exceed $345,000, $807. We work with the Gordian Company, which is like a communities contract where they go in, after we get the plans done, they go in and get best unit pricing for the job. This would complete all the renovation work down there for BOE operations for the move. The original price of this was $349,000. Department of General Services did $40,000 worth of demolition work down there to get this project moving. So the real price on it is $319,000, but with the other monies in there is contingency money just in case anything that goes we haven't discovered. But we think it's a pretty good price.
Couple of questions.
Sure.
Commissioner and I had an opportunity to talk earlier today. I'd just like you to explain, when this came before us earlier in the year, you had CT Mail go in and do a evaluation, and you came before, I think it was Audit and Finance, and said that you believed that our cost to move in would be between $50,000 and $100,000.
Correct.
And now we're looking at, $345,000. Could you explain sort of what happened?
Well, the initial study when we were back here was really a feasibility study where we had to get permission to move the BOE to the 260 site. And the feasibility study is, will it fit? After we went all through and said and done, yes, it will fit. We came back with an estimate, well, what, really, if if we had to just get them in there and do what we have to do, move some walls, do that, that's why we figured the 50 or 100,000. As we were doing the demo work, again, we worked with Rachel's people. They came down on the site. We want to give them what they want and they need. There was, a lot of it is electrical work that needs to be done. The infrastructure from the state that was down there is old. A lot of it is still Cat 4 wiring. It's all tangled up in the ceilings. You can't trace it down. What we're also doing is we're adding a fiber optic cable we're running over from our health department to bring over into the tele room, which was one of the IT requests from our county IT that we brought down there, which again is going to be saving you about close to $15,000 a year. Right now we're paying $1,250 for the fiber optic at the BOE right now. So this will get rid of that cost also. As we were pulling to make room for their equipment, we pulled the cabinets out. We've done carpet work down there before. We've never ran into any asbestos problem. When we started pulling the cabinets out and we were getting prepared for general services to rip up the carpets for more savings, some of the asbestos tiles started coming up, which I had to shut the job down right there, which in fact now you have to have, it's a DOL thing that you have to have that done. So we put that into the contract. That came back as about $47,000. A few other things we weren't aware of is that, we were made aware that the machines need to be plugged in all the time, 24 hours. So, you can only plug 6 machines on a circuit for safety reasons as far as code goes. Otherwise, you start even overheating the circuits, which I think Rachel knows. They have them plugged in on extension cords right now, I think, with surge protectors, which is a problem. So, we had to do this, and, we wanted to give them a nice area to do. The reception area is going to be very nice. We're also giving them a break room with some plumbing in it, so they would have a sink for a break room. And, it's going to be a nice situation for them down there.
Okay. Mr. O'Brien?
The mastic, the glue that holds down the tile, are you removing all the tile?
That's hot. No, we're not removing all the tile. The only place where we're really removing the tile is where we're back in the counter space. If everybody's been down to DMV, all that was abated, where all the seating was, the waiting area, that was abated at another time.
Okay.
But DMV was there, we couldn't abate that because of the counter space that was there. So, as I said, once we pulled the counters out and started pulling back that carpet, you're getting the 9-inch tiles down there with the black mastic. So that's really the only area that's going to be done, is really where the machine storage is done. Is going to be done. All the other areas already have had carpeting done at another time. We pull those seem to be fine. We're not pulling up any tiles, so those are just being encapsulated with new carpeting. Because of the walls that we have taken down, we don't have.
What do you mean encapsulated? You're not removing what?
Well,
I know what
in the other areas where there's carpet now, okay, you're not pulling anything up, you're not pulling any of the asbestos up out of it, or the asbestos tiles there. It's all encapsulated with glue now, and you're just putting new tiles down on there now, new carpet tiles down on there now, so it's considered encapsulated.
So in the future, if they remove the carpet, possibly the tile will be removed?
Well, anything that you're gonna do, if you're gonna go right down to the decking again, if you're gonna pull all your, go down and wanna put all new tile down and all that stuff, yes, you'd have to abate the whole building, which, the small area that we're doing is $47,000. You're talking a very large area to do down there. The areas with the other tile on it now is, all the floors are gonna be buffed and cleaned and waxed. Keep them the way they are. They're in good shape. They just need a good cleaning. Like I said, and the carpet work is really because we've had to pull the walls down. Some of the carpet was lousy. That would have had to be replaced anyway, but we had to pull walls
So you're
down.
leaving the existing tile that has the mastic on it down on the floor, you're not removing that?
On other areas, not in the area where we have to put new tile down.
So in the future, if you pull up the carpet, it could possibly remove that?
Well, the carpet's been done down there
Exposed.
3 or 4 times, so you got a lot of glue down there. The last time we did it was probably about 3 years ago. We had a little water damage down there from when the streets flooded, and we had to change the carpet out down there. GP Land came in, they were a contractor, they pulled all the carpet, everything was encapsulated, they just put the carpet back down.
Did you do any testing on the ceiling tiles or anything like
The
that?
ceiling tiles are just like these, there's no asbestos ceiling tiles.
Okay.
And we're not doing a lot of ceiling work down there, only where we've had to take down some partition walls.
And there's no asbestos on the steel beams down there?
No.
It's not friable?
No.
Okay.
How long is the county own the building?
It was purchased, I think, from, Trifoletti, I don't know, it had to be over 20 years ago, maybe. If we get back to
No
you.
lead paint issues?
No, no, it's been painted before, you know,
Okay.
so.
The surge protection, you're redoing the wiring, shouldn't you, in the panel itself, the power coming in, are you going to put in a surge protection
Well,
there?
the real new circuit, see, the reason why I think that they need the surge protectors now is because they're plugging, I think, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 machines, I think, are off of extension cords, off a surge protector, off a 20-amp circuit. That's why you really need the surge protection, because you're gonna get an over-amperage on it.
But if you're redoing the electrical, you could put in the surge protection, right?
Sure, we could, yeah, they could do that.
It makes
right in-
sense.
In those units, but like I said, we're putting 20-amp circuits in just to handle each 6 machines. So there won't be any problem with any surge on there, you know, to keep our machines, you know, well-powered.
Frank, did you have a question?
You have some questions. I want to go back to when you were here originally and you gave us a quote of $50,000 to $100,000. It sounds like the analysis that you asked CT Mail to do wasn't all that comprehensive. You were just doing a space analysis?
We were doing a feasibility, and that's really what that was, a feasibility analysis. Would it meet their needs if they were to move down there? That's really what the first feasibility
Well, it
study
sounds
was.
like you've done asbestos abatement in the past in that building, correct? Wouldn't you expect to run into it again?
We didn't expect to run into it again when we were pulling the carpet. That's why I said we've done carpet work down there before. We haven't had this problem. So when we pulled the cabinets out, that's where we ran into the problems, underneath the cabinets.
Maybe you should have had CT Mail do a little bit more comprehensive analysis of the
Well,
building?
CT Mail was not being paid for that. They were being paid for a feasibility.
Well, I know, but you maybe should have done a little extra here. and
I
had them-
think, I'm sorry, I don't mean...
And then also, now you also have to do some additional electrical work to accommodate the Board of Elections.
Correct.
Did you dialogue with the Board of Elections in advance so that so you had an idea that you would have to do this?
Well,
type
we
of-
dialogued with them. I mean, CT Mail was there as they looked. I mean, when, like I said, we were requested to speak with Rachel, speak with their people, see what their needs were, okay? And when you're pulling down walls, you're gonna have electrical work. When Rachel needs something that she needs for her operation, we have to add it into the project. That's how it is. I mean...
Well, you think about that in advance, and I'm just thinking that maybe we just didn't do our homework initially to really do a comprehensive study of what we were going to need.
Well, a
down
comprehensive
there.
study is a design study, it's not a feasibility study. A feasibility study is, will it work? Can you put them in there? Will they fit? That's a feasibility study. A design study is where you start ripping walls down, going through all the electrical and the mechanicals. That's a design study, which CT, and that's what we needed on the feasibility study to get permission to go ahead with the design study to get in there and see if it'll fit. When we're asked, what would it be? Well, if we don't have to do all this work, 50, 100,000, well, we're pretty close on that if it was just the walls. Okay, but once you get to the IT, which is old Cat 4, and it's out of date, you gotta go to Cat 6, and you can't figure out where anything's going down there because we haven't really had control of the building. That's where you go into the problem. Because if you look at the...
No, I understand. I
portion-
just think we probably should have done a little bit more, maybe paid CT Mail to do a little bit more of an analysis of the building and you know, what our actual true needs were at the time. So, that's all I have.
Mr. Mendick?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I think the point that Mr. Moriello is bringing up, you bring a project to this body to analyze and determine if it's feasible. If you're only giving us a portion of what that cost might be, because we haven't done all of the homework that we need to do, you're not giving the body all the information they need to make a proper decision, or a decision at least based upon all the information. We make a decision based upon $50,000 or $100,000. We're surprised when it's another $250,000. we shouldn't be surprised. And I think that's the point that we're trying to make.
Well, I do understand that, but you have to understand that the difference between a feasibility and a design. Design is where you start really going into all the mechanics. Feasibility, for instance, the mechanicals on the roof, okay? That's not part of your feasibility study. That's a mechanical study. That's in your design study. So if you have to get in there and all of a sudden you have to you have to replace all that mechanical work, there goes your budget there.
And I appreciate the difference of the two studies.
Right.
But if we're coming and we're looking at the feasibility of that project, we can't get this piecemeal. We have to get it all at one time, because we really only make the decision once. And all I'm saying is that if we're gonna do a feasibility study, then we should be saying to ourselves, we need to do the design study at the same time, so that we provide a complete picture to the body that needs to make the decision.
Well, the reason I think for the first meeting was for the legislature to agree to move them. We didn't even have an agreement to move them, so you're not gonna really do a design study all the way around if it's not an agreement really to move them. So the feasibility portion of it was, will they fit? Yes, they will fit. Now you have permission to go ahead with the other portion of it. So you're in a tough situation in that aspect of it.
Thank you.
Ms. Lockhart?
Could you go back to about the flooding issue? How often does it flood down there?
It hasn't flooded in probably about 5 years down there. The problem was a lot of the sewers on the South Pearl Street were all clogged, and on Green Street, so you weren't getting a good flow there. Even with the last recent storms, we've had no flooding down there. Same thing with the health department. We used to get a lot of flooding down there. We put pumps down there. So I want to say it's probably been good 4 or 5 years since we've had any flooding down there.
I was concerned because I'm aware of the health department. There's mold down there in the basement, number of employees are having problems with.
No, that's all been taken care of. There's no mold down there.
No.
Years ago, years ago. Years ago, they had a big flood down there, and that was caused by, like I said, a lot of the city sewers were not cleaned. They were clogged with leaves. Everything backs up. Down at the health department, we put extra pumps down there because that is not really the lowest part down there. But a lot of it was, I remember probably 3 years ago, I was down there when it blew, when a heavy rain for 15 minutes, it blew the sewer caps right off. So, like I said, after the last 5 years, even with the heavy downpours we've had in the recent weeks, we've had no problems.
Well, we would be dependent then on making sure the city's doing their part, right? We don't control that. Is there anything we can do to the building to control that?
It's on a slab. I mean, there's no really ways to put some pits in that portion of it. But like I said, I think the city, they ran into some heavy problems there, and I think they've done their due diligence in staying on that area. It has been a problem area as a low point in the city.
Dave, can I just follow up on that, because I was going to ask a similar question. I had heard anecdotally from a Board of Elections employee that they had been told by a DMV employee that there were drainage and flooding issues. And they made it sound like they were more current than years ago. So are you saying that as owners of the building, we have not experienced that in years?
Correct.
This is not a problem that our Board of Elections.
The last time that happened was probably about 4.5 years ago.
Okay.
When I was, I think, special assistant at the time. And that's one of the reasons why we changed the carpets down there.
Okay.
So that's how, that's all I know about the carpets, when we pulled the carpets and changed the carpets down there. We had no problems as far as
Mr. O'Brien?
I just have two follow-up questions. One, the roof. Is the roof in
the
fairly?
roof's in excellent shape.
Good.
We have warranties on the roof. We always have, inspections on that.
Perfect.
We haven't had any leakage problems.
And the last one now, originally, Board of Elections was going to be moving currently, this month or next month.
Correct.
What is the now timetable of this?
Well, the timetable is if this happens to go through the full edge, We want to get them the contract right away, hopefully start construction the end of August, the first week of October. Hopefully should only take maybe about a 6 or 7 week build out. We've spoken to Rachel. We'll do nothing to interrupt any of her elections. So even if we're all ready after the election, if we're ready down there, we could actually have the machines moved down there after the election, and then we could proceed with the move. This will be done before the first of the year.
Okay.
On Rachel's timetable.
Okay, Patty?
One more follow-up if I can, just thinking, America, Patty asked this, do we have a state-of-the-art security and camera system? for
That'll be
the
going in,
outside
that's,
too?
yeah, the outside, we're working on that now. We're going to be redoing the camera system on the outside of that building.
Because I know some of the other buildings, like Child Advocate Center. has
Yeah, we
a
have cameras
system,
now.
You can't just walk in.
Yeah.
That's no
Yep,
problem.
yep, there's gonna be a complete camera system down there, all the way around on both sides of the streets, you know, with better optics. You know, those cameras were probably done 3-4 years ago, and the optics now are unbelievable,
Right.
you know, for security and safety.
One other question, you keep referring to Rachel, as anybody consulted Matt Klein also on this?
Well, we've dealt with everybody at the board.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it
We've come up
wasn't,
there, you know, a few times and had them come down to the site.
Okay.
You know, that's why, you know, it took a little bit longer because we changed a few things that, you know, they thought they needed, where we were gonna put some equipment, which we had to then go back to CT Mail to re-update the electrical, you know, portions of the contract.
I have a couple of questions that you and I discussed, and I'd just like to get them out on the record. So, I mean, we had CT Mail do what was basically a space analysis.
Correct.
However, the program that you have generated through the Gordian Group was done as a result of an engineering study by CT Mail. This is them now going in and saying, okay, now you're going to build it. This is what we need to build.
Right.
How did you procure that, and what did that cost?
That was procured off the contract I have with CT Mail for a engineering contract I've had with them. What they did is after, you know, the feasibility study, we wanted to proceed. They went down, did their study, spoke with Rachel and her needs. Then they bring aboard their mechanical or their electrical designers, their structural designers, and then they get the set of plans. Then the plans went to Gordian. Gordian takes that set of plans that was developed, that Upstate has to work off of, and gives it to them. They unit price everything out, and that's where we are. So that's where the study, that's how we got to the design phase.
So what was our cost?
Our total cost to
for
date
CT
with
Mail?
with CT Mail for the feasibility study, the full design, and some walkthroughs is roughly about $39,000.
So it's $39,000. Okay. Now, do they have any continuing, now that they've put together the program, and you have the Gordian Group, which is going to do it all based on unit pricing?
Correct.
Which is actually, in my personal opinion, a phenomenal procurement method, because it gives you a great amount of flexibility, and the competition's already built in. But who, are they doing any who's making sure that
General Services will be handling the CM on this. So
you'll
we'll
be
send
doing
our
the
guys
construction
down.
inspection?
Right, we'll send our codes guys down, we'll have a guy on site there to make sure that the work is being done in a proper way.
So you're going to have a full-time clerk of the works there assigned?
Pretty much.
Okay. The schedule. So, Rachel, are you comfortable with the schedule where this is done by the end of October, November?
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's done by the end of November, we should be good. The problem is we have, as many of you know, a presidential primary this coming year, which is the end of April. And in addition to that, they've also just enacted 9 days of early voting prior to every election. So, and we're implementing a whole new system, voting system, which we're doing a pilot program today actually in Cohoes with, which is all electronic-based check-in system now, it's electronic poll books. So we're completely reconfiguring structurally in terms of hardware, software, even training of inspectors, everything. to learn a whole new system, plus providing, additional days of voting. So we have to be able to get in and set up for all this and be ready for this by, in time for the April primary, but as you all know, they also now moved up political calendars, so now you're essentially collecting petition signatures in February too. So, which we have to process and deal with also at the board. So we have a very small time frame, which would be after the general election to probably, I guess, January, right? So we want to be set by the beginning of February to make sure this all occurs. So I would say if we could move between, December and January and get this done, then that'd probably be ideal.
Yeah, well, I mean, Rich, whatever, like I said, we don't want to interrupt your operations.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if we're done earlier with the one portion of it, and you want to move the machines after the general election down there, and then we can move you whenever you want to move, but you'll be in there, you will be in there before January.
Yeah.
Now, there's one thing I heard in the course of some discussions today, which is there are actually new electronic needs that you have because of all of
We do
the...
have poll books now, which have to actually get plugged in and charged, but those are not like machines. I mean, they do get regular maintenance, probably as long as we have that new system in place where we can plug into that. So I don't think it would really dramatically change the hardware needs based on what you're describing.
Well, could I just ask the two of you
It's
to...
basically 350 iPads that we're talking about.
Could I just ask the two of you to put your heads together and make sure that in your, $100,000 of this expenditure is for electrical upgrades to make sure that the Board of Elections works and has the proper power. Could you just reconfirm whatever your needs are? Because the good thing about the Gordian Group is that if you change, if you need an extra 10 outlets, they're what, $85 a piece?
Correct.
So it's not, you gotta reconfigure the whole set of plans.
Not a big change order.
It's not a big change order, it's a unit price adjustment, which sounds like could be taken care of in your contingency.
Correct.
But obviously, to the extent that you guys can recompare notes and make sure that the systems work for the Board of Elections on a timely basis, I think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
Joe?
And we have been communicating, so he is correct when he says that he's been consulting with us on layout and stuff. He's correct on that.
Good. I just want to follow up with Legislator Lockhart's concern about security. Is it going to be like an ADT system where it would call the local police?
Well, there'll be an alarm system. We have, all our buildings have alarm systems now, so that'll be on there. During the week, we have guards stationed here where they'll be able to pull up and observe the parking lots that we do now. We have them observe the parking lots now here from 112 State Street. Also, during the day, they observe all the cameras down at the health department and the mental health.
So are you saying there's going to be a guard posted there?
No, there's a guard posted here.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, yeah.
And there's a guard posted at the courthouse, but is there one going to be posted down there at the Board of Elections, I guess?
At nighttime?
No, during the day.
During the day, not that.
I'm just asking.
No, I don't think Rachel has a guard now. But we do have guards down there in the facility that do roam the parking lot.
And what about the security lighting at night?
The security lighting at night is all LED lighting in the parking lots now that we had changed out years ago.
And they're sufficient?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, well, we've had a pretty robust discussion here today. I'd like to leave you with one thought. First of all, is there any further comments? If not, I would entertain a motion. Moved by Mr. Frenier, seconded by Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. I wanted to say this after the vote. Many of the things that I've seen during my term with Albany County when it relates to construction is a concept that has a price, and then as it evolves, the price gets higher, and as it evolves, the price gets higher than that. And somehow, I think we need to learn from that. If you were buying a house and you bought it for $100,000, and you brought in your engineer to do an inspection, and he gave you a list of things that you needed to do to make changes, you'd want to rely on that. Now, I know I've been through a lot of construction in my life, and I know that those things are always subject to change, but anything that we can do on the front end so that we are more thorough, I think, I know it would give me greater comfort, and I think I'm hearing that from a number of the members of at least this committee.
Yes, I completely understand that. I think we ran into a little bit of a unique situation here by having to get the permission first in order to move that division. And I think if it would have just been, okay, we're moving it down there, we needed design, we needed this, we would have had better, would have had exact pricing at that point.
But I think that permission was based on the quote that we were given at the time.
The motion is passed, by the way.
Thank you.
And now let's do something easy, like cooling towers here. Authorizing agreement with Hostler and Jackal regarding mechanical construction services for the cooling towers replacement project.
Yes, we'd like to go into contract with Hostler Jackal for $312,800 to replacement of the cooling towers here. We also have to replace all the steel that's underneath the cooling towers. All the steel is rotted. They're past their serviceable life. We've been sinking some money into them, and come to find out, when they were replaced years ago, they replaced the towers with 650-gallon water towers. When they put the chillers downstairs and they replaced that, they put 750s down there. So we've always had a little bit of a trouble keeping up in the building with those, so this is going to solve a lot of those problems too. But they've reached their end of their life.
And there won't be any more leaks in the 13th floor?
Hopefully not.
That's a good thing.
Motion move it.
Moved by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. The matter is carried.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Number 7, authorizing an agreement with Direct Energy Business Marketing LLC regarding the supply of natural gas for various county facilities. Executive Director Gaudio.
Thank you,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Chairman.
Sorry for the amount of time.
That's fine. On behalf of the Energy Advisory Group, we are seeking to enter into an agreement with Direct Energy through the MEGA program, the municipal electric and gas lines, for the period of November 1st, 2022 through October 31st, 2023. This is for the purchase of natural gas for the four facilities, the 2 treatment plants, the correctional facility and for the Anley facility. We decided this was probably a good time. We received a very competitive price on natural gas per decatherm. It was about 16% lower than the current rate, so we felt this was the time to enter into the agreement. So.
Wow. And how long is this good for, Angela?
The agreement will be for a 1-year period, again, through November of 2022 through October 31st of 2023.
So is this a fixed fee for us?
Yes.
Okay, so regardless of what the delta is, up or down, this is what we're going to have.
Right, which is why we felt...
16% savings.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? If not, I would entertain a motion. Moved by Mr. Cowell, seconded by Mr. Moriello. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Motion is carried. Motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Miller, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.